We are live now.
Perfect. Somila, I don't know why, but the live not working in my PC. Ah, it has started. Okay. Okay, so we are live now, and yeah. Okay, so good evening to everybody in India, and good afternoon in Europe, and good morning in US. People joining from different countries, different places, different time zones. Welcome to the today's session uh, of Psychom Synapse with Dr. Anupma Harshal. We'll be talking about biochemistry, how she entered research. Later on, she moved independently to STEM. She worked with Foldscope, with Kotak, works in many other things. So let's hear her today. I would like to uh, thank her first of all to accept our invitation, and Bhakti to please introduce Dr. Anupma Harshal today for the event.
Yeah, sure. Hello everyone. Let me quickly introduce you all to our today's speaker. So, Dr. Anupama Harshal is a STEM educator, teacher, trainer, academic mentor, Foldscoper, and to emphasize more on an independent woman in STEM. With over 22 years of experience as an academician, research administration, of which last 7 years have been in science outreach, advocacy, communication, and public engagement. She has been a capacity building trainer, an avid Foldscoper, a high achieving teacher mentor who has steered undergraduate research with 28 research projects to her credit. Recipient of Indo US Foldscope Grant, Superheroes Against Superbugs Fellowship, K. Muralidhar STEM Peers Travel Grant. She has been a part of several goal projects that include the Human Manav Atlas Initiative, Gyan at Pune Knowledge Cluster. She is presently engaged as a consultant at Kotak Education Foundation. She has authored two books, MHRD coursework on WASH, and has published several international papers. So this is all about
Thank you,
Anupama.
Bhakti. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to the entire team for having me here.
So with this warm welcome, I request the host to continue the event. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for the kind introduction, Bhakti. Without wasting much time, our audience is highly excited to hear you. So I think we should start with our session. Welcome, everybody. Also, the audience once again. We hope we are quite clear with our audio and video and everything. So, first, I would like to ask Dr. Anupma that, like, since you started your journey, you might have been into pure science, pure biology initially. So, what exactly sparked your, I would say, what inspired you to pursue a career, especially in biochemistry, to start with?
So I think there I'll begin on a note which is not going to be a very promising one. For most students at my time, there were only two options available. You either did medicine or you did engineering. And those who never made it to engineering or medicine actually ended up doing a BSc. So it was a demoralizing note for most people, to do an ordinary or a pure science BSc. But I think the kind of college that I went to in Bombay, which is SIS College, my master's at Institute of Science, when I went and when I entered my graduation program, I realized that it was not so bad at all. I mean, there was so much of exploration, there was so much of asking questions, there was so much of accepting us as we were, and it was not about our marks. but it was about us, that you're important, you contribute to the scientific diaspora, you're going to make a difference. And somewhere it, got me interested to that, hey, not medicine, but I think clinical biochemistry is something that is my forte. That is something that I started liking. I like the testing. I like whether it was the MPN in microbiology. I like, so that kind of really appealed to me, because I came from a very conservative Haryana background, where girls are married off right after their 10th standard or 12th standard. So for a person of my background to even take science, I actually had to fight it out with my parents, saying that, no, I want to take science. And they said, no, you have to just take arts, because that's what most girls do. So the struggle, was real, and it was very different in my case. But once I took up science, I think I knew it very clearly from day one, that biochemistry and microbiology was going to be my cup of tea. So my college was actually, I would say, contributed for facilitating this journey, where they gave us an option of taking 3 units biochemistry and 3 units microbiology. So that way I could study microbiology for all 3 years and biochemistry for all 3 years. And that really said that I didn't make any mistake by taking the pure sciences. So coming back, I'm talking of way back in 1986, when you had to take science, and then 1988 when you had to decide. So there were not many options. And yes, BSc was not looked down up at, but the kind of morale that a child carries when they walk into college speaks a lot about their choices. See, if I'm on cloud nine, the kind of choice I make vis-a-vis the kind of choice I make when I'm not in my element. So I think from that space, I thought I'll answer this very honestly, that I got into pure sciences, but I had absolutely no regrets. And I mean, so when I moved into my master's course after my BSc, it was fun, because clinical biochemistry somehow really appealed to me. And then there was no looking back. Like that was like, how you have the committed step in an enzyme reaction, that this is the rate limiting step and you can't look back. So I knew that I'm definitely going to be looking at, cancer biology or some kind of phosphorylation, dephosphorylation. But definitely my mentoring in degree college and my master's program catapulted me to take this bold step. Also, the you have NEP now, which is allowing you to study subjects. But at that time, we were allowed to take 3 papers. Like if you like zoology and micro, you could take zoology and micro. Like you didn't have to, let go a subject to continue your interest in it. So I think that really helped me to remain connected with a lot of lab work, remain drive my interest, do what I like. And finally, at my MSc, I thought between micro and biochemistry, clinical biochemistry, like I said, really appealed to me. And so I thought, I got the choice of taking my master's. And and of course, during our time, we used to have the entrance exam, the All India entrance exam for JNU. So I had got in a college in Amritsar, I think, in some college, DAV college in Amritsar. And again, I couldn't travel because of whatever family reasons, but I was allowed to take biochemistry here for my master's program. So I really hope that this kind of helps you to understand that how even your college atmosphere, your friends, your mentoring in your junior and degree college actually helps you. And like I said, this became a committed step. So then, of course, after my MSc, again, the pressure for a 24-year-old child to get married was very high. And of course, then again, I had cracked my GRE. I gave my AGRE, and I had applied to Cornell, to Wisconsin, and a lot of universities. And I got here through the UGC CSIR NET exam. I had gotten Dr. Ranjeka's lab at NCL Pune. And just at that time, Hindustan Lever had signed an MOU with University of Bombay and NCCS, and they had a collaborative program. So I don't know how many of you would really, be excited to know this, but we were the second batch at Hindustan Lever. And imagine we had a PhD committee with 8 people, had 2 co-guides, 1 guide, and it was such a facilitating environment, I tell you, because when I read stories on Twitter, I read stories otherwise, I can tell you what a 4-year, 5-year journey this was. So I did my PhD at Hindustan Liver Research Center, which was a collaborative project between BYL Nair Hospital, Mumbai University, CCS, which is National Center for Cell Science, Pune, and Hindustan Liver. So we were the second batch of 8 students from Livers. Yeah.
Very nice, ma'am. And even I would like to say that nowadays people go to advanced courses, but they don't know that the advanced courses are supported by the
The pure
basic
science.
sciences.
Yeah.
So moving on to further, I would like to ask about your early challenges. So what were some of the biggest challenges you faced as a young scientist, or the journey you started in the science communication, and how did you overcome?
So Satyarth, I'd really like to tell you here that, when I enrolled for my PhD, I was so naive. I didn't know how to read a research paper. And I think Satyarth was one of the students who was there in one of my sessions on how to read research papers.
Yes, I was.
And believe me, we made it so simple that you would feel guilty if you didn't read a research paper in a week. You would like kind of feel कि अरे आज मैंने book तो पढ़ी लेकिन research paper क्यों नहीं पढ़ा. So essentially from that naivety, I finished my PhD with work. We worked with B16 melanoma cells. And during my PhD, you won't believe it, but 6 months of my work, I had isolated tyrosinase protein and I kept it at my -70. And levers was like another Boston, let me be very honest, because they were all people who came back, on a re-entry fellowship. And levers was an amazing environment. So if I told my PhD guy that I want 1 milligram of melanocyte stimulating hormone, he would say, Anupma, just order 2, just in case something fails. That kind of a lab. I can tell you this doesn't happen anywhere, even in India till date. And the kind of atmosphere we had, he would say, and I would say, sir, I got this paper. So he would say, Anupma, you can just call me Virender. You read more papers than I do. So you can, I'm not no sir and I'm no big person, and that's precisely when I got to understand that this is how we treat people. This is how we, work together as a team. And so when I was doing my PhD, 6 months of my work completely, the -70 conked off one fine day, and I lost all my proteins. And that's the time my guide told me, Dr. Virender Shoran, he was from PGI Chandigarh, basically from Karnal. And he said, why don't you just write to NIH, Bethesda? And at that time, it would take 4 weeks for the letter to reach NIH Bethesda. And, then they would kind of revert back. And I wrote to him, I want tyrosinase because I lost my protein. And you won't believe it, Dr. Vincent Hearing, who was heading the division of, the pigmentation, he sent back to me tyrosinase, TRP1 and TRP2. And he also told me, if you need the primers, Anupma, just write back to me and I'll send you the primers. And believe me, Satyarth, I still have in my refrigerator tyrosinase, TRP1 and TRP2 antibodies. And we wrote back to him for the primers, and we also did PCR way back then. So, when you overcame this challenge, it kind of really built confidence in me that you have to ask, and the only answer that you can expect is either a yes or an no no. So, matlab, there is no middle path to it. It's either a yes or a no. If it's yes, your work gets ahead. If it's no, you'll knock another door. So that helped me. Yes, but after that, there's an interesting piece of my life journey. So after a PhD, I got typical medical representative roles, which was like paying very little, and I kind of didn't probably fit into that. I wanted to work in a lab. I wanted to work because I had worked with B16 melanoma cells. I had raised tumors. I had done animal modeling. So, and especially at NCCS in its NCCS was just established then, and my co-guide at NCCS was Dr. Manoj Mojamdar. So I have actually taken melanocyte from burn patients, from the foreskin. I've put it on a cellulose membrane. I've grown skin. So that excitement was not something which a medical rep job would have given me. So I actually got a portfolio done, and my mother said, just don't sit there after a PhD doing nothing. And I actually did modeling for almost about 6 months. Till I think Balaji Telefilms actually tapped on me saying that, hey, we are looking for somebody for the role of Tulsi and some other characters they had. And I was like, oh my God, this is definitely not my cup of tea. And luckily, just then I had a tutorial classes in Vashi, and I connected with them. And that is where I took off my journey, where I could actually start teaching. And 7 o'clock lectures where I was teaching 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders. And that's the time I realized that this is what I want to do. I taught for about 2-3 years, and then I got a university appointment at Kishan Chelaram College. And believe me, as a young teacher, the lab is bustling with students, energy of 35 humans who want to do something in science. And imagine the lab has got very minimal. I'm sure Satyat and all of you know a calorimeter, a pH meter is very basic in most DU and MU colleges. And my principal said, Anupma, just write for a grant And again, I had a senior teacher. She said, I will not be able to do anything, but I will sign all the documents and I will stand with you, Anupma. Yeah. And, my first grant was 34,000 rupees. I got a pH meter, I got a calorimeter, I got a printer cartridge, and then there was just no looking back. So uh, that kind of got confidence of my college in me, saying that, everybody was saying, oh, but we're first timers, oh, but you're first timers. I said, let's write for a Bombay University grant. Let's see how much we get. And, every alternate year, I wrote for a grant. And this is how I was able to build my own lab. And I have 28 undergraduate research projects done by my undergraduate students. We have 16 gene sequences that we published during this course. And yes, funding is one thing, Satyat, you rightly raised that my challenges. Funding was one thing that was a difficult thing. But I've done right from taking my oven to my college, saying that I need an oven to make cookies. I have, tried and navigated, like I needed to do some soil analysis for a project. So you won't imagine there's a place called Virar, which is completely on the outskirts of Bombay, which is 72 kilometers from my place here. So my student was working there with 4 quadrants, and he would get the soil. And I spoke to RCF, and RCF said, we will charge you 160 rupees per soil sample. But I must have done at least about 10 or 20 soil samples. So it did involve some amount of investment from my end also. But I was somewhere very sure that not that I will get results, I'll get a publication, but I have conviction, a conviction tha ki from this is going to be a startup. It's like if you don't sow something, you're not going to be able to reap anything. So I thought ki kahin na kahin definitely hoga. So you won't believe this project of mine. There was one student called Nikhil Kadlag, and he's now finished his PhD from ICT, and a very versatile human, I must say that he is. And he did this entire soil research, and from Marathi Vigyan Parishad, he got 10,000 rupees for the grant. And he actually called me up and said that, do you want the money back, which we did for the analysis? And I said, no, I don't want the money back. I just want you to study further. I mean, this is the kind of dedication, the team that I've had, who feel like, who wanted to build a resource, who not kind of just drawn, but who wanted to give back. So I have most of the time, yes, you do feel let down by challenges. You do feel let down at times, specifically when there's no funding. But I think I have a personal belief system that ask for help. Write it down, write to people, ask people. It's either a yes or a no. There's nothing, lost in it. And I think this is where a lot of success stories of people who, like, I think Dr. Velumani, who established ThyroCare, a lot of people whom I had heard, those success stories came back to my mind, that Dr. Velumani had pledged his wife's gold to start ThyroCare, and where ThyroCare is today. So somewhere a belief system was there very strongly that, this is the way it is, and this is the way it's going to happen. Nobody's in a privileged position, and we are going to be able to navigate through this. And as I progressed through the grants, we took the effort of, writing to UGC for our grant. And yes, we ended up getting almost 9 lakh rupees for first minor project that my college got. And you won't believe it, during the course of the project, the PCR rates went up. And we ended up spending around 60,000 rupees more. Typically, these bodies, DBT, DST, don't respond to emails. So we were wondering what to do with the 60,000. So I had a principal of, the principal of KC College. She said, 60,000 rupees, don't worry, we will take care. I will not cut it from your salary. But she said, write to them that the cost has gone up. And I can't tell you, after 6 months, they said that, yes, we understand the cost of the PCR and thing has gone up. So we will, reimburse it for you. So again, I would say the faith and conviction that fine, give it a try. So these were these were definitely challenges. But then, like I said, I did pool in some money. I definitely have invested some money here. I never tried to retrieve it from any of my grants, but I just felt that if almost all of us face these kind of challenges, which at one point we feel that, oh my God, where's the funding? How is it going to come? What's going to happen? But you need to ask for help, 100%. Because there are people out there who are waiting to, help you, if not in terms of money, at least in kind. So they'll definitely put in a word for you. So I really want to establish this in a generation that's, attending this session today, and especially all of you as a team, that you have to just stay strong. Just stay strong, have a belief that it's going to work out. And some amount of your investment will go, but believe me, it will come back. So I come from that space that I tried and I definitely, got success at the end of it.
Quite interesting, because not everybody has been through, have seen more eras in science. Like, I have seen many scientists who maybe went to US or, let's say, Germany to do their postdocs, and then they come back with a huge grant, and they establish their group. But there are really few people who stick to the basic science and have been in India in a way that they started when Indian government started giving grants to the PIs. So I think that was really good to hear from you. Since you mentioned about many students, when you used to work, they used to be engaging, and in the college as well. So what advice would you like to give today, to the students? Because you might have mentored many students,
Yeah.
interacted with them. So especially to undergraduates who have just entered the field of science, or thinking to maybe do a PhD, or maybe something else. So what advice would you like to give to them?
Um, since I've had the experience of almost mentoring almost, more than, I would say, 100 students, because some of the projects that we did had 4 or 5 people who were contributing to it. They were group projects, they were individual projects. So my advice would be that sometimes we're very, more often than not, because we're not mentored that way in our college ecosystem, to do research. It's looked at from a point of view. We typically, I think this could be my personal opinion, we typically mentor students that this gives you money, this gives you a job, and this is like this. So we don't tell them, we don't teach them really what is it that you really want to do, what is it that you want to achieve. Have you asked yourself, where do you see yourself after 5 years? If I see myself after 5 years having my own lab, then how do I reach there? Okay, then make a plan of action. So essentially
Mhm.
somewhere our the entire, I would not want to blame anybody, but our college ecosystem is very much like, ye kar lo, MBA kar lo, you'll get a job, ye kar lo, you'll be into teaching, ye kar lo. Now, I mean, if you look at the whole dynamics today, I'm working for an NGO, which is Kotak Education Foundation, which is an NGO which works in 6 or 7 verticals. There are several other verticals like this. There are several other NGOs like this, where there are jobs for people who have done their PhD, where there are jobs for people who've done their masters, where there are jobs for people who are science illustrators, because these are people who are working in STEM. These are people who are working with Step for STEM, 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders. Somehow, I think our college ecosystem has to evolve, which will kind of really start, kind of, how you have, you add color, which will start adding a layer to students saying that, oh, okay, so this is research, this is science communication, this is scientific reading and writing, this is science illustration. Ma'am, I'm interested in science, but I'm very good with videos. अरे तुम वो videography छोड़ो, तुम Krebs cycle पे focus करो. It's not like that, ma'am. I like science, but I also like law. It's okay. So, buddy, just finish your science, chemistry में कर लो, and फिर law करो. Because for most, companies, pharmaceutical companies, they're not looking for a BCom person with law. They're looking for a science graduate with law, because they need to know, if I say this drug affects blood, hey, which cell in the blood? Is it the red blood cell? Is it the WBC? Is it the platelet count? So those kind of specifics. So I think our college ecosystem has to evolve in a very holistic mentoring process. And I think that is typically what I'm looking forward for the NEP to get into. NEP is going to probably get us this holistic thing where people are now using dance to show how, one synapse communicates with another, see, without touching. So this is, if you say this is dance, this is Kathak, but probably if you were at IISc, they would say, no, hey, this is neurobiology. So ask Vidita, she would say this is neurobiology. But essentially, understand, what is your calling, essentially understand what interests you, and then have a growth mindset that I did TY in chemistry, oh, but I'm interested in molecular biology. Hey, no worries, you can still apply for a program, do a 1-year project in a lab in Delhi. And I think now with the NEP, I think all of you would be aware that the 4th year is a project. So you write to different institutes and you may get selected, and probably you may be working in one of the niche labs which is working in molecular biology. And believe me, the structure of purine, whether it is in chemistry or in molecular biology, is same. So like I said, the college ecosystem has to evolve. That chemistry is not separate and mol bio is not separate. So my advice would be simply, ask yourself this question: where do I see myself after 5 years? What is like, my a SWOT analysis? What is my strength? What is my weakness? Where do I see an opportunity? So some kind of analysis of your own self. And no, I took maths in the first year, but I like biology. Hey, no worries. Don't worry. We are in a very completely evolving world. So maths and biology go hand in hand. Do your master's, finish it, take up a bridge course, or do your project with a bioinformatician where you'll be able to, use this and drive your interest in biology. But that's something that has to come from you. That's you have to be inspired. And I think here I would say that having an aspirational value, having to look up to somebody. So like if I speak to Satyarth, when I read his status, there's something that Satyarth, writes which inspires me. There's something about the tweets that I read, the books that I read that inspires me. So I have to aspire that this is the way I want to think. This is the way my thoughts are going to be. So each day I select a dress, and that's how I select my thoughts. That no, I'm going to be nice, fresh, flowery, nice, and happy. So essentially, I'm working in a very evolving space, which is my mindset and typically time management. Because I've had students there, you won't believe it, traveling all the way from Virar, who would report in the lab at 7 and get all their media done before the master's or PhD students would come, so that other people's work is not affected. So this kind of meticulous planning can come only when you have, and I can share one example here of a girl I had, Rachel, and she was very active with the culture club. And the culture club president came and told me, "Are you sure you're taking her for the, for a project? She's amazing as a culture club president, and she talks." And you won't believe it. She was so good with her culture club work. She would meticulously plan it and finish it. And she was so good with her lab work. She's now, in the US. She's finished her PhD. And amazing. So she would say, "Ma'am, I'll come by 6:45 in the lab. You be around. I'll finish making the media." And she would be there till 7 in the evening, finish up all her work. So essentially, I hope you can see it was not that WhatsApp was not there at that time. WhatsApp was very much there. But essentially, I mean, after all, the president of America is not going to call me up on my phone. So the phone can just be there. What I like doing is what is drawing my interest. And every day making notes, writing down meticulously, showing me. And, I kind of told them that, see, you can just say, "मैं कल आके लिखूंगा," या "मैं कल आके लिखूंगी." But if you want my signature, I'm not going to read each word. You can, easily puff on it. You can easily bluff on it. But tomorrow, when you go to a lab, tomorrow, when you do a master's, I want your teacher to come back and tell me that, hey, they are my children. I really have teachers who come back and tell me while they've done master's here, Anupma, they're your babies, the way you have trained them. So I think somewhere the onus, see, you can't drive somebody who's not driven by themselves. So when they would do this meticulous work, they would write it, they would show me the plates, and I would say, "Hey, this is amazing." I'd pat their back, and I could kind of see them sweating out. I could see them. Just one second. Sorry. So I would kind of see them working in the lab, and of course, like I said, I had groups of students, sometimes 2, sometimes 4, sometimes single people, doing the projects. But this teamwork, they would understand that they need that kind of energy and they need that kind of zest, for doing both their academics and the research work that they had to do. And in the process, getting them to read papers, like, first year BSc, what do you know about a research paper? So you can't penalize a student, "Hey, you don't know what a research proposal looks like." So gradually you have to, get them to this whole culture of research. So again, your lab ecosystem, college ecosystem definitely catapults you and empowers you. So Satyarth, I hope that kind of really adds value to the question that you had put across.
Definitely, ma'am. And I think sincerity and truthfulness is all we need to go in a longer run. So since you have talked about the mentorship, and you are a successful woman in STEM, so I would like to ask that what advice do you have for young women who aspire to enter this field? And there's a different journey for women. So if you could give some advice to them.
Sure. So my suggestion here would be that one is build a good and strong network, because I would not know of so many grants unless I had connected to a lot of people. So there is something called as the Gyan program from Pune Knowledge Cluster, which is for girl students who are doing BSc. They are allowed to do a project. They are also paid 10,000 rupees stipend. So a program like this is also run by the Bangalore Knowledge Cluster. So your network building should start from you attended a talk, write it on LinkedIn. Hey, this was the speaker. This is what I learned. This is what I thought, helped me to grow. And that's where people will start noticing you that, wow, from a talk you have gained so much. From a talk you have imbibed so much, or these are the pointers that you're looking for. That's how you will start building your network. I think, Satyat, I'm using this phrase that your network is your net worth. Believe me, the internet is there everywhere. All kind of social media sites we're connected on. Yes, we denote how much time we give to what, but it's an amazing medium, because you can't run away from it and say that I'm not here and therefore I care a damn what's happening there. I'm definitely here, and I'm using it to leverage my talent in this direction. I'm using this to leverage my potential in this direction. So one, build your network, because from then you will be able to, you'll get help in areas where you'd get advice. You may probably end up with a mentor who's close to your home. They may be able to talk to your parents. They may be able to help you with your teachers, that this child needs mentoring, this child is progressing. I'll share one or two stories also with you without taking their names. So building a network is something that I would definitely recommend. Second, start uh, building your own persona. Now, what is a persona? Persona is not a personality which just speaks high spy English. Persona is, what does your CV look like? How do you talk? So I've had people sit there to write to me on LinkedIn that, hey, can you share me your contact number? And there are people who will say, hi, ma'am, I'm Dhairya. This is my background. This is, whenever you have time, could you connect with me? So just see, this is just a polite way of connecting to somebody and saying, hey, this is my email ID. If you could connect back to me, I would appreciate. And then when the, response comes, this is what I'm looking for. I'm seeking, I'm looking for some work. I'm looking for a reference. Can you please share your number or your email? So typically you have to get your persona very clear. What is it that you're talking? What is your talking conveying? What is it that you're putting out there? What is it conveying? What is it that when you're meeting people, are you making an effort that there's a exhibition, there's a science fest, there's an open house? Are you connecting? Are you going there? नहीं नहीं वो सिर्फ पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट्स के लिए है, नहीं नहीं वो सिर्फ पीएचडी के लिए है. कोई बात नहीं, it's perfectly okay. Go there, see what is there. If not anything, let me be very honest, you learn one new word, vocabulary आपका बढ़ेगा. If not, at least one new sentence, one new technique, one new scientist. So simple, Satyarth, if I probably, as a, you all are a learned audience, but when I go to colleges and ask them, who's your hero? And they are like, oh, I like Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mr. Z. I said, no, we are in a science class. We are in a science club. I'm asking you a hero whom you aspire to be, whom you want to, and I feel that aspirational value is missing. And many a times we look down upon a lot of people who are not educated and say, his background में इस बच्चे का क्या ही aspirational value होगा, गवर्नमेंट स्कूल के बच्चों के क्या ही aspirational value होगी, म्युनिसिपल स्कूल के बच्चों के क्या ही aspirational. So I can almost generalize the statement and say that even undergraduate students, they don't have an aspiration, they don't aspire that this is the scientist that I like. I mean, Satyat knows we have a huge circle on Twitter. I mean, you name Karishma Kaushik, you name Dr. Shashidhara, you name Dr. Vijay Raga, you name Manu Prakash, you put a small picture and they'll retweet. And you know, I get excited like a child. I put it on my status and everybody's like, oh, do you know him? I said, no, I don't know him. He's my friend on Twitter, or I'm following him on Twitter. And that's how we connect and that's how we take this forward. So essentially build your persona. Whom do you talk to? What language you talk to? How are you talking? What are you conveying? What is the signal you're sending out? And the signal that you're sending out is also coming from the signal you're taking in. What are the kind of books that you're reading? So an eighth grader in CBSE for their orals does a book review, right? So I read this book. Just write a 2 paragraph on LinkedIn saying that, hey, this is a review for a book, or you want to put a podcast or a small video on it, that this is what I think about the book, or this is what I feel. So essentially, you have to build your persona, build a network. And like I said, for a lot of girl students, the challenges are manifold. But I would say stay strong. Keep the conviction, keep your head held high, look for a support group. Many a times your mother will support you, but your mother may not be as educated, to really stand the toughness that a family pressure can put in. It may be tough for her also. So look for a support group. Just look for a support group. Is it your teacher? Is it one of your seniors? Is it somebody on LinkedIn whom you can write to? And always, there will be disheartenings. There will be kind of, letdowns. Don't give up. Write to people, talk to people. And there's actually, this is not an idealistic kind of answer, but believe me, there's no problem which doesn't have solution. You have to be able to navigate. You have to build a support group where you can ask your teacher and say, ma'am, I wanted to talk to you. Nowadays, I think even both DU and MU have mentoring groups. They are student nurturing programs where you have a mentor teacher who's assigned to you. So what is this mentoring? Go and talk to her once a month. Go and talk to her once a week. More in the beginning. Give her small notes. This is what I read. This is what I feel are the new techniques. It has to be driven from within. But definitely networking, building a support group, and kind of like, I want to build my English vocabulary. I want to build how I talk. I want to understand how is the best way to write an email. So those are things which are not hard, because now you have so much help. You have Grammarly, which will check your English. But how many people do know that there is a Grammarly free version which just checks your grammar? Isn't it? So his, her, whom you write to, how you write to can be easily done. And a lot of these tools are very doable. They don't need much training. They're very easy. They're like, an automated email you type and Grammarly says, hey, do you want us to check this? And it allows you to check it. So those are tools, that will help you. So a support group is something I would definitely recommend. And yes, as you navigate, definitely get, talking to people. No, I'm shy to apply to her lab. Write to her that I really like the kind of work you're doing. I really read your paper. Yes, but you have to read the paper. You have to see. You can't say, I like you. You have to say, I like your work. And then she's going to say, okay, which paper? So again, a lot of homework, read their papers. So for that, you have to have heroes. For that, you should know who this Mr. X is, who this Mr. Y is, which lab is he working in, what kind of work is he doing, what kind of papers are they publishing, what are the talks that they're engaging in, what student groups do they have, and that is how, if you look, then this will be a multi-pronged kind of foundation for them to catapult and leverage their potential. So this is going to be my strong advice, that nobody is going to come and hold your hand. You have to help yourself, but build a support group, because that's the most empowering experience for one to carry forward.
I think what I take from you as a personal take, I would say, is first one was those who drive themselves, and also the network is your network. I think these are the two very very important, I would say, messages to me personally.
Thank you, Dev.
So moving ahead, Professor Prakash Manu, he started this cohort of frugal science, and that's when I came to contact with him, and I had a talk with him as well, and he was quite nice. I was part of the first cohort where he started for the first time, and we like all together were like developing the course, and also the timing of the course was in the midnight, something around 2 o'clock in India.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember exactly, it was long, I think 2020, 19, 20, I don't remember, 20 I think. Yeah. So I remember my interaction with him. So I would like to now ask that, like, how what was your journey in the Foldscope innovation, and how exactly uh, you fostered that collaboration, and how was your experience with in that?
Yeah, so till 2017, I was teaching at Bombay University, and that is when I really thought that I think I'm going to move ahead from there. And I had written for an Indo-US Foldscope grant, which was from the
Mhm.
DPT desk, and that was what really, I would say, kind of changed gears, from second gear to third gear, and life moved on. So having been a teacher for almost 16, 17 years, I moved into the STEM space the teacher training space independently. And when this grant came through, I was at KC College, and this grant, because I was not working, I had quit. I was able to do 53 Foldscope workshops, in-person workshops, which was like amazing because the grant said you have to do 2 Foldscope workshops. And for me, what happened? I got collaborators in the Northeast. My collaborators were Siang Borang, Mudangomo, Mosumi Saikia, and Professor Lego. Lego madam, was just awarded the Padma Shri a few weeks back. So she was at that time she was the agricultural officer of Pasighat, which is like, like the tip of Arunachal Pradesh, very close to the border. But an amazing lot of learnings that I got from her, from my entire association with the Northeast. I would say it was completely an eye opener for me. So while you must have heard the statement that Northeast is the 8th biodiversity hotspot, let me tell you, if you've not seen the NER, ye nahi dekha to kya dekha. It's amazing. The culture is awesome. The terrain is superb. People are simple. There's a lot of discipline. And I mean, what amazing energy we were missing for so many years for not having the NER kind of, integrated into the Indian mainstream. So this actually helped me understand how indigenous people coexist, the kind of balance they have between being very modern and between having a lot of respect for their forests, the flora and fauna, just about everything that was that's there in terms of a biodiversity hotspot. So when I did these 53 workshops, which was from grade 4 to almost, undergraduate, postgraduate students at agricultural universities, I was wondering, I actually asked myself, what was I doing till now? Like, why didn't I ever do this? And this kind of, helped me take the Foldscope from just 2 workshops for collaboration. I also did, a small project where I took a lot of these indigenous plants and I did a DNA barcoding. We registered them with the database so that we realized. And that is when I realized that what a pool of resource we have here. What a lot of indigenous population exists there, which have never sneezed, have never had been down with fever. And, like they've just not interacted with the outside world, but they are so self-sustaining with their practices. And here we are talking in labs, in talks about SDGs and so on, but how well they've manifested their potential, and they have taken care of all their practices to be aligned, saying that whatever we do should not be harming what is around us. So this coexistence model, so that was a major learning for me. Otherwise, what happens, that you're typically living in cities, we are more of consumers. I would say we're absolute consumerists. Like we're just consuming, consuming, consuming. So we really don't know what is the process that's happening before this whole thing comes to us. And that is when you realize the kind of tea. I mean, for the first time I saw tea which was worth 4 lakh rupees a kg, 40,000 rupees a kg, and I realized the tea was like, the aroma of the tea was amazing. It's so, you understand that these things need curation. This is indigenous knowledge that needs to be preserved. I mean, it's so easy for somebody to just take that out and say, you know, take a gene out of it and say this is ours, this belongs to us, and things like that. But this is when I realized that there's so much potential. So by connecting with these children, by getting them to use a microscope, by getting them to ask the right question, we kind of moved or started onto a journey that my problems are best known to me. So I cannot expect Satyat to come from there and solve problems around my niche. But yes, if I go abroad, if I have a knowledge exchange with another university and I study and get the technical know-how, and then I come back and say, hey, these are the problems that are happening at Pasighat, and this is how I'm going to solve it. I'm going to get an industrial person. I'm going to get somebody from a lab. I'm going to get somebody from a PSU, somebody from a software company, and say, hey, these are the problems that manifest us, and this is how we need to kind of navigate this. That's truly when empowering is going to happen. But that is going to happen when a child is going to say, what's the flora fauna around me? What am I made up of? What is happening around me? Is there dust on the leaf? Is that stomata? Is there variation of dust on the leaf? Can I see it? Oh no, I can't see it. I have to go to my lab. Oh, I am a commerce student. I can't see it. I have no access to the lab. And I think that's where you can see that we broke the barrier. That hey, you don't have to be a science student. You can be a commerce student. You can be a science student. Just come in, get us a question, What do you want to explore? Ma'am, but I think it would be silly. I would like to, see how my tea powder looks like. Okay. And that's the time we saw that, how you can bring tea to a powder form and start observations. And essentially, this helps, I'm not so sure which fine motor skills and which, neuronal connections, but it gets people to think. It also gets people to understand that if I have a question, I can get an answer. I have evidence to say that yes, there is more dust during these seasons. Yes, there is plastic filament, in the dust in my house more in this season. Hey, there's more pollen in this season as compared to this season. And therefore, more people are prone to asthma and things like that. And I think that's the time I started thinking, do I really want to go back and take up a job and start teaching again? Or do I want to navigate through this kind of, work profile where I'm, like connecting the dots. I'm getting fourth graders to ask me. So I'll share an example here. I went to a school called Vanita Vishram, and I had fourth graders there, and they asked me, ये वाले बाल में और ये वाले बाल में कुछ difference है क्या? So I said नहीं है. I mean I don't know. मुझे नहीं पता है. So then he said मैं slide बना लूं. I said yes, you can make a slide. He put both the hair one on each, and then the child comes back and tells me कि this hair is thin and this hair is like a sword. ये बहुत sharp है. Okay, this hair is thin, बहुत uniform है, soft है. This hair is very sharp, like a knife, like a whip. And then he comes and tells me, इसमें जो color है वो कम है. This is less pigmented, and this is deeply pigmented. Now see, I have not told him what is a pigment. I have not told him what is a plastic. But his teacher came back and told me, hey, now it's going to be so easy for me to teach them photosynthesis. Because now the child understands that there are some packets which are there. Some have brown color, some have black color, some have green color. Those which have green color are found in leaves and therefore they're chloroplasts. So it became so easy rather than telling, this is a cell, the cell has some membrane bound organelles and this. So the moment the child goes through progression in grade 5 and grade 6, he's just going to have clarity and no need to jam the RAM. He will have clarity. One bag with color green is chloroplast. Another bag with color red is red blood cell. So that kind of clarity in a Hindi speaking fourth grader really, and he drew one observation. He drew one circle and he drew those. So essentially, I didn't have to tell him ki observation banao. I was not telling him what to do, but he was telling me, hey, look, these are my observations. This is what I feel. And that is the space that we need to get our children. I have seen people making general statements. We don't innovate. We don't, we just create followers. We just have this. Your teaching method is, not empowering them to ask questions. And precisely when you have one teacher who's doing this, they come back and say, hey, that teacher is teaching like this. Why are you not teaching us like this? Why are you bombarding us? Essentially, because when I'm happy during my class, see, the whole process of learning, I was discussing yesterday with a friend, is about your head, heart, and your hand. If it's simple, I'd like to learn. If I'm happy, I'd like to receive. If it's head heavy, then after 7 minutes, I'm going to doze off. Correct? So essentially, when the child is happy, the lecture got over and they say, teacher, please don't go. The next, and I said, no, the maths teacher is waiting. You have. So essentially, what the NEP is aiming to do is this, that get the child in a space where the child is thinking, the child is, innovating, the child is just asking, in your language, atarangi questions. And that is when you will have a lot of innovation coming. And I'm very hopeful about that. And so I actually said, no, I want to move in this space. And I started moving in that direction.
I think it was quite interesting to know about how you interacted with many people, especially like the school students who it's really complicated because my mom is also a teacher, and she taught me, and I know it was quite difficult, but the way a teacher teaches is
Yeah,
really,
makes all the difference.
I think that's something really, I would say, yeah. Since you mentioned about communication and talking to people, and you also interacted with so many of them, so So how do you see, the science communication, which is like currently, and how it evolved? I think you have been a part of the Indian science communication era, I would say, which boomed recently, I think, somewhere near after COVID or just that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So so how do you see it, like ahead, like people would like, how important it would hold in science, and how are the young students getting attracted towards the science communication?
So I think the entire credit for COVID, I'm sure this whole cohort will agree, goes to science communication. I mean, we had the principal scientific advisor's office telling us that if you can't find anything, just cut your kurta sleeve, or, put a string there and get a, mask made, because
Marks.
we didn't have enough masks and things like this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
essentially, if you realize what was happening was that somebody shared some content. I mean, a lot of people were listening. I'm sure you started this session by saying that we were not sure if we'll have 100 people or more joining in, right? So it's very difficult to get an audience which is going to be in a receiving mode.
Yeah.
So what we did during COVID was connected a lot of people, and we got them to say that when you come from out, you need to wash your hands. When you're coming from out, you need to change your clothes. You need to do this. You need to do this for your own good. Whether it's COVID, whether it's post-COVID, whether it's for your own personal hygiene, this is going to help. So somewhere there was a very well curated content that was, sent out to the masses, and believe me, translated in 22 to 25 languages. And, people were receiving that information because people were following. Everywhere people had a sanitizer in their hand. Everywhere people were taking the no contact, just keep it there and we'll take it. Even the shopkeeper would say, I have kept the saman outside your, in your bag outside, you can pick it up in your colony, in your building, or things like that. So, science communication is going to play a very, I would say, a very important or a pivotal role, because whenever there is something that you want to convey, I am of the opinion it's not Instagram, it's not WhatsApp that it needs to go out. It needs to go out in the form of well curated content, sent out in the right signal, in the right form, through the right channels. I mean, when we were young, when I was in school, we had, a lot of channels like Gyan, which was for the farmers. We had something about, Vigyan Shala, which was about, science questions and things like that. So somewhere I think if probably one of you is going to get in touch with a venture capitalist, we need to have really dedicated channels where we're going to have, not just success stories, not just science experiments, but some kind of a medium which says this is curated content. Guys, this is what you need to listen. Just put 2 hours, just put a podcast or something, but coming something that's going to be believable. And believe me, this is not going to be one person or two-person. This is going to be this is going to be an era. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be qualified science communicators. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to be the science communicators who are going to be writing for newspapers. Not, not like we've got a capsule for cancer and it costs 100 rupees. We all know that's very immature kind of reporting. So the right content about whether really a particular bridge needs to be built, whether really that forest needs to go down, whether an afforestation with a monoculture is the right thing to do. Oh, we are planting ashoka trees, but is a forest of just one tree a forest? Is monoculture what is? So what is the right content? And for that, I think science communication is really going to come up in a big way. So I'll tell you my example when I was with as a part of Manav Human Atlas. We would go, you won't believe it, we were going college to college, and this was COVID. Okay, Jan, my joining date in Manav was 10th Jan, and between 10th Jan and 10th March I had kind of navigated 36 in-person sessions. And after that we had together 400 sessions, okay, which were online. And some sessions were so heavily populated, we upped our Zoom to 500 membership. So we went from college to college telling them what's the difference between information and knowledge. How should you look at a research paper? And well, the title says a cure for cancer, but the abstract doesn't say it. The abstract says it, but the conclusion doesn't say it. So how to read a research paper in 30 minutes, what? And then decide how to read actually the paper or not. What is the 3 pass method of reading a research paper? Why a research paper? Why not a newspaper? Why not a magazine? Why not, some other site? And essentially, why the abstract? What is reproducibility? What is plagiarism? What is data management? So these were, almost 60, close to 65,000 students, 35,000 teachers we reached out to. And I don't know if I should tell you if I have a fan club in that or not. Satyarth will agree to me. But essentially, these were students who came back and said that, I have this doubt in my master's about this research paper. And now we have a whole team. We have scientific reading circles, which, we are planning to take to different cities. And, if we get a crowd of 25 to 50 people, dedicatedly 3 hours, let an undergraduate student struggle, let him take a paper, let him underline a few things on it. Let that in-person energy of the group come to it, that, one paper, you think this is what should be curated, somebody else thinks this is what should be important. And exactly we derive what does the paper convey. How we have book clubs, this is going to happen. So essentially, I feel science communication is going to come up in a big way, but we're in the evolving space. So if you're going to ask me, then the next 10 years, are we going to have jobs? Are they going to be high paying? Yes, there are going to be a lot of jobs. You can check the CCMB website. You can check the principal scientific advisor. They have a channel which is called as Manthan, where they put up a lot of their, these opportunities for women and in general for sky commerce also. And of course, there are a lot of the media connects that are there where we are connected. So not sure if it will be, permanent jobs, but it's definitely opening up. Like people have a project. So a lot of central institutes, a lot of private institutes have a science communicator, have a program director, have somebody who's like just managing their outreach. What is outreach? So I'm a college, I'm very happy. Satyarth is a student, Dhairya is a student. No outreach. I connect to 5 schools which are close by to me. And I tell them, see, you could look at it as a marketing gimmick that hamare college mein ab ye bacche aayenge, but that's not the way it is. It is essentially to tell them that look, these are the courses that are available. Can you like come and see our lab? Are you comfortable in the chemistry lab? You can touch these things and see. We can show you these reactions. If somebody has never seen how Miranda House looks like or how Bombay University colleges look like, how is he even going to think that I have to go there? You understand? So this is something which is going to come in a big way. And I would say, I want to club science communication and public engagement. I look at this together. And together, this is going to help you, the way science is going to reach to people. So outreach is going to be something which is going to help actually the country to, not just believe anything that's come on the WhatsApp University, not believe just anything that's there mentioned. Yeah, you're saying this, okay, I don't want to argue with you on the family group. But Dhairya, can I write to you on email and say that, Dhairya, can we do this? Can you tell me the right thing? And then Dhairya says, hey, this is the paper. Can you read the abstract? This is great. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue with this uncle, but I know what the right content is. So this space is slowly opening up, but I would say the pace is very slow. But yes, it's very promising.
Definitely, ma'am. So, moving ahead, we have to like time is running up so fast.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, buddy.
So, I would like to ask that what are your like current interests? Are you planning to write some grants, or what are your future goals? And how do you plan to contribute inspiring the next generation of scientists?
Thank you, Satya. That's like so promising. I have to share my, plan with you. So yes, I'm definitely for me grants is a process. It's a continuous process. I keep writing for grants. I keep writing to different agencies so that I can take this moment further. And I kind of run a academic calendar or a yearly calendar. So I will next be visiting Kargil, Leh, Dras for 10 days. And we've connected with schools there, and they're so excited that we are going to be coming there because they're just wondering, ये कौन सा microscope है जो हमको खरीदना नहीं है? We don't have to buy it. So I'm really looking forward to that. We have planned. There's another person who's connected with me on Twitter. We're planning a stint in September in Dhanbad. So we will connect with a lot of colleges, a lot of schools in Dhanbad. So I keep, I keep upping my calendar. October, we may be in Odisha for a week. So in fact, I pitched it on Twitter and somebody wrote back to me, hey, I have a few schools. Will you go to those schools? We'll arrange for local travel and we'll be able to give you the stay. So I said, definitely. Do we have to give you money for the Foldscopes? I said, no, please don't worry. You don't have to give me money for the Foldscopes. And I can't thank, for the Foldscope, specifically Dayal Bagh Institute, at Agra. This is a huge group of, engineering colleges, polytechnics, colleges, schools, and they are the ones who facilitate the Foldscopes coming from Stanford to people like me. So I can't thank them enough because I'm not paying any excise duty, and I'm getting them. And so I continue with my Foldscope thing, with my calendar, where every month for about a week or 10 days I visit terrains. And Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand are two places which I'm kind of waiting for somebody to connect or plan, and then take this further. uh, a few countries, because I had been to Paris just about 3 weeks back. A few countries have connected with me in South Africa, saying that, will you come here for a week? Can you work with our schools and teach them how to do this, and get your energy and get them to get energized and say, because obviously depend. See, you have to also understand, like I said, aspirational value, third world countries, which scientists do they look up to, language barrier, there are a lot of challenges, so anything that feels simple. Oh, can you manage in a community school the workshop? I said, yes, of course we can manage in a community workshop. So I have a plan which runs like this, where I write for grants on a continuous basis. I plan my 8 to 10 day stints in different locations in India when I'm conducting the Foldscope workshops. Essentially, I get a lot of help from my team, from a few people who work with me. They may not be like there in the front end, but back end they help me write papers. So I get to publish this data. I get to present this data in conferences, which again leverages our potential, saying that, hey, this is a good work with 400 people you've worked, you've done a pre and a post. So it kind of helps me leverage the data. And of course, I am definitely looking to have an entity which is, not just doing Foldscoping, but getting a lot of people from physics, that's who make maths learning fun, who make, physics learning fun, devising activities with very simple and basic things. And, whenever we get, let's say there are some tribal teachers in Ichal Karanji or Nagpur that I want to work with, Dharya, can you join me? Satya, can you join me? I can give you a air ticket, and can we be there? So this is the kind of energy that I'm looking for, and a team which is going to be, and definitely a grant which is going to help me to pay you a travel and take care of your comfort, so that I don't want you to spend from your pocket, but I want you to get that energy and your talent, because that itself is priceless. That's what you're going to be offering to the children. And believe me, an endeavor like this, where I will, I want people to write back to them saying that, hey, will you be my mentor now? Will I want to talk to you? I want to stay connected with you. So I'm looking for something to establish very long-term relationships with these kind of children. I don't want to call them underprivileged, because that's like kind of insulting. If they had an opportunity like us, believe me, they would be doing just as fine. So I just see that they have a lot of potential, and let's tap the potential. And I'm not looking for any parity. I'm not looking for any equality. I just feel wherever there's potential, let's tap it, let's channelize it, and let's have a podcast where a tribal student is talking in his language, and you have put an English translator there to say, this is what the child is talking about, science and exploration. So he's telling you his dreams, he's telling you what he wants to do, what he's done with the Foldscope, what pictures he's got. That is where I see the country and this whole endeavor going forward, with a lot of support from, of course, endeavors like this.
I think that was really inspiring, and now I feel if I could join, I'm sitting in Europe, in Germany. I don't know how I would be helpful to you in this initiative, but if there's something that we could do, or something like the idea that you said, like we would have some tribal student speaking about the Foldscope experience and what he learned, basic science. Maybe we can host that, and we can have a small meeting, or something like that, where the SciComm Synapse is always ready to would be would our team would be really, I would say, honored with this, if we get an opportunity
Sure.
to work
And
with you.
also the joy I gather, see these छोटे बच्चे third fourth
I
graders
know.
Foldscope लेके, and मतलब it's a revolutionary thing, I would say.
Yeah,
And in
that's
India,
true.
it's just because of you only, and you have a very promising way ahead, and we all want to be a part of this.
Thank you, thank you. And I'll just share one experience before we kind of come to the closer. Dhairya, maybe you're a Marathi, so you'll understand. So I worked with one of the municipal schools with a grade 6 student, and the child
Uh-huh.
observed the onion peel, okay? And the after he
Hmm.
observed the onion peel, he said, "Arey, wow, wow, bug." And then what the child does is he observes it in the teacher's torch, then in the sunlight, and then in the tube light. And then
Uh-huh.
he comes and tells me, "Ki madam, the best resolution is in sunlight." And
Wow.
this was like believe me, it was like a eureka moment for me, because you will have MSc physics who will not understand why one among the three lights, why. So that, and see, these were Marathi speaking schools, but this was an English intervention of Kotak, that will
Uh-huh.
conduct a session in Marathi, but let the child answer in English. And the child comes and tells me, "Madam, the best resolution is in sunlight. I'm telling you this, take
Sunlight.
picture." So that was like an amazing thing. So now see, do this, follow this. None of it was there. Observe at your space, at your pace, in your space. आराम से करो, देखो. No, and the teacher is telling me कि आज मुझे एक भी बार चिल्लाना नहीं पड़ा. I didn't have to, put the duster, keep quiet, because everybody was so engaged. And they said, "Will you come again? This time get another sample. We will see." So I told them, "Don't worry. I will give you 10 Foldscopes. You can explore it in your school." So I think there we have a very, gradually, it's like, I think when we evolved as humans, maybe coming again from a space where I've been a teacher, we were not loners. We built tribes, and essentially we are tribes. So a lot of people tell me that Insta you don't have so many followers though. So my tribe is only so much. Those people who connect with me, vibe with me, and say कि मेरे गांव में आप आ जाओ 2 दिन के लिए, आप यहाँ पे कर लो, उतना बस है मुझे. I'm fine with that. So हर आदमी अगर अपने गांव, अपने सिटी का अगर सोचेगा, तो we will have one full Andhra chapter, we will have one full Telangana chapter, and it will like be a never ending process. So I think there's a lot of hope ahead in the journey for all of us.
Yeah. I think that's so true. So before we, there are many audience questions as well
Oh,
who are booming up, but on our YouTube. But before coming to a like conclusion or asking audience question, there are like two last questions I would like to ask quickly. First is that what keeps you going? Like, what's your personal motivation? Of course, to do a lot of things, being a mom, being a responsible family member, doing everything, taking care of it. How do you manage it? And also, what's your like personal motivation towards the outreach, science outreach?
thank you, Dhairya, for that question. That's a little difficult question, but easy to answer. So there is a whole team of people who packed my parachute, Dhairya, so I can fly. So that's something that I would definitely want to share my entire credit with my team who packs my parachute. My father is 83, and right now he's taking tuitions for 10th graders. So I couldn't have a better motivator than a father who is like so actively engaged and engrossed. And he's a fine young man. I think he can give a challenge to Satya for walking 3 kilometers and running that much time. So I think my motivation really comes from my parents, and of course my kids and all my students who keep writing to me their challenges and make me part of their challenges, give me that confidence that I can be helping them in solving the problem. And I think that's my motivation, that कोई बात नहीं, आज अपना दिन अच्छा नहीं गया, लेकिन अतीरा का क्वेश्चन आया तो अपन अतीरा को हेल्प करेंगे. And it suddenly changes my mind. Second, I have shared a slide deck with Satyarth, and he can actually show a few of those slides. Every day, Dhairya, I have a collage which comes in my inbox. This is what I did. Hey, ma'am, I'm in Austria. I took the Foldscope 2.0 and I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing. And I'm like, wow, if Veer is happy, I have to be happy and proud. And I send that, note to Ambika at Ashoka. And she tells me, "Anupma, what have you done? The children are still writing to you." So I think that is how magic happens. That, it's not a one-stop shop. You don't just finish it up. You continue where people keep connected. And I think many times I mentioned this, that the whole process of mentoring, hand holding is not over after 10th standard, not over after 12th standard, not over after graduation. You have mentors for life. You write to them, you speak to them, you read their work, you see them, you meet, and you keep getting inspired. So I definitely have a huge team, many of whom I've named, many of whom I've not named, but I'm deeply inspired, by a lot of them. There's Dr. Preeti Nima. She's an astrobiologist. There's Dr. Shilpa Jain, Dr. Shashi Dara, NCBS head. They're like the people who are really my heroes. So I think that's where my inspiration comes from.
Great. So I think we
Yeah.
should now. I ask one question which I should be also asking to you. One question that I ask all the PIs or the STEM outreach coordinators or everybody whom we invite is, which is the best discovery as per you in the science, uh, apart from Foldscope.
Well, I think I would say, I think the discovery of the DNA. I think that's like the turning point for everything. For everything. See, now we are seeing this gene is involved, that gene is not involved, that may be involved, this is hereditary or not. And so I think the discovery of the DNA for me is still is it's still something that still I feel what an amazing uh, piece of, I don't know whether we should really call it information or just ATGC or just a code. It's just too big a magic moment for us to put it in words. So I think the discovery of DNA for me.
I think there was a lady PI who did this along with Watson and Crick, of
Okay.
course.
Yeah.
Rosalind Franklin.
Yeah.
She was the one who saw it for the first time.
Yeah, for the
So
first time.
great. So we have many audience questions. I would like to pick few of them. Due to shortage of time, I think we couldn't take all of it, but few. So Ranjit Kumar is asking, ma'am, since you mentioned about research papers, he's asking that how one should start reading a research paper. Like, if you can tell it in short, because it's quite boring
Yeah.
for
So
everybody.
I think reading a research paper is something where you read the title, read the abstract, and one thing
Mhm,
is don't forget to keep the pencil in your hand, okay? Because otherwise you'll keep
mhm,
going back and asking, what did I read? What was the most
mhm,
important? Keep underlining what was the most significant part of that sentence or what the paragraph is conveying to you. I would certainly say skip the materials and methods, go straight to the results and discussion. Read what the paper is trying to say,
mhm.
okay? And if you really find that there is alignment between the three, not the title saying says I've got a cure of cancer, the abstract aligns with it, it's like the ting ting ting, but the results and conclusion finds nothing interesting in it. So see if all three are well aligned. If all the three are aligned, then go ahead and read the entire paper. Again, please don't penalize yourself. The introduction will be long, so it's going to be boring because it's going to tell you this one did this, 20 years they did this, then this happened, and then that happened. So jump on to what was the problem question they have addressed, what model system did they use, what methodology did they use, which assays did they use, and then you will actually start getting interest. Because if you didn't understand what assay they've used, go back, write to the author, ask your teacher, what is this assay? Why is this done? What is our confidence level in this assay? And so on. That is when you will genuinely start breaking the boredom and get interested in specifics, which automatically answers your question that the paper will no longer be boring anymore. But definitely look for alignment. Definitely. In any paper, I think you will agree, especially papers in nature and science, the journals which are the high end ones. Even sometimes the figure is so exciting that you don't want to read the paper. The figure gives it
Yeah,
all A, B, C, D, E, F, and you have it all, known. So I think
yeah,
get a hang of what the paper wants to say, what it has, and get to kind of understand what interests you, and then start looking for the alignment and then start reading it. Trying to read the entire paper in one go is difficult for even me. So I would say go in a stepwise manner. I really hope this helps you. But look for alignment, because sometimes the title says something, the abstract is something, and the results and conclusions don't fit in with it at all. Yeah. Yeah.
I could understand you, me doing a PhD.
Yeah, because see, I'm
Absolutely.
sure you'll agree, Dhairya, you are so excited that this is the paper, and then you find that there is nothing in this paper, but you end up wasting a lot of time. And preferably,
That's
what you
for
must
sure.
do is make kind of a rubric in an Excel sheet saying that this was the question, what is the model system? And then when you're reading 5 papers, start putting your pointers there. And then you will know that this is the paper that I'm looking for. It has everything. So that helps you out.
Great, great. And there is one question from Deepak, which he says that for master student who has passed, let's say, masters, bachelors, without having much experience, he maybe have not worked with many instruments or something like this. What advice would you like to share to start their career? Like they how would they proceed ahead in the science now?
I think because they finished their masters, I think this was also a problem during the COVID time where they don't have much hands-on experience in
Hmm.
lab. There are a
Yeah,
lot of paid
yeah.
internships also available, which are not very
Hmm.
exorbitant. Definitely,
Hmm.
I would share on LinkedIn. In your local area somewhere, definitely it will be there. When I say local area, I'm talking of the metro, this 2-tier cities and 3-tier cities.
Yeah,
Definitely,
yeah,
there are a lot of paid trainings.
yeah.
ICER Pune hosts a lot of them. Many of the ICERs
Hmm.
host a lot of these hands-on trainings where the charges are
Hmm.
nominal. Get onto these
Hmm.
trainings, which will also again help you build your network. And you're a
Hmm.
master's student, so definitely it'll help you leverage your talent. So many
Hmm.
colleges, I think, don't have the resources. So master students are not well equipped. But I think, see, when I say masters in a subject, I'm supposed or I'm expected to know everything. So it can't be an extension program of your graduation. So if you
Yeah,
don't know something, buddy, I would say just up your talent, get those
yeah,
skills, learn those techniques, and then apply it.
yeah. I think this also answers a question with Yashmit Shah asked about having internships and other things. So there is one more question which talks about like medical writing. So how exactly will you point this towards that? How to start writing if somebody has near or no experience in writing?
Okay, if you have little or no experience in medical writing, uh, you have to first come from a reader space. You have to first read to understand what is the style of writing, how do
Mhm,
journals really typically put in their data.
mhm,
Is it a
mhm,
communique? Is it a medical report? So some kind of
mhm,
formatting alignment for you. When you start writing, the thumb rule for our research papers and medical reports used to be that we used to start with our findings first. So which part
mhm,
of the data do I want to report? I'm not going to report
mhm,
all my data sets results here. So these four
mhm,
results I'm representing. For these four results, what methods did I use? For these methods, what was the question I asked? And then of course the content that I would write. So for a research paper, we typically do like this, that we select a few of our results. What students typically do is they put all their results there, and then they're trying to navigate, how and what part to write, and the paper becomes really very overwhelming. You can't put all your results in a paper, so you will have to start with a few results. So similarly for medical writing also same. What are your findings? What is the format in which typically medical reports are written, and then
mhm,
align your
mhm.
thoughts and start penning it down. And I am not somebody who's going to say don't use AI. I'm going to say use tools which are free, which help you edit and format better. That way, your content remains non-plagiarized, your content remains humanized, and the content has an element of your thought process which is there in your writing. So it's not like a copy paste. Yeah.
Great. I think the questions are booming a lot, but I think we will not able to take up
No,
all
no
of
problem.
them.
Anyway, I have the YouTube link. Whatever questions are,
Yeah,
I will definitely try and revert back on them.
absolutely. And I also recommended that if you have more questions, please send us, or we also have feedback form, so please write your questions in the feedback form.
Sure,
We
sure.
would share them with you, and then
Yeah,
maybe you can respond to
yeah.
them,
I'll be
and
happy to address them. Sure,
yeah, because we have a little bit of time crunch. Of
sure.
course, we need to finish, and it's also quite late in India. I think around 7 in the evening or even
Yeah,
more.
7:20. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So now I think we are about near the end of the session. So I would like to give the mic to Soumilya Mishra to give a vote of thanks. And also I would like to thank Dr. Anupma for your kind presence and also to come at SciComm Synapse, accept our invitation.
Thank you, Daddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Daria, for the opportunity, and really thank you, ma'am, for giving such a nice talk for us. And really, it would be really great we can get in touch of the full scope with your expertise and guidance for our audience as well, and us or as our organizing members as well. And hopefully, like to meet you in Mumbai anytime soon.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Soumilya.
Yes, ma'am. And really, I thank all the YouTube audiences for joining for such a interactive session and nice session in such a beautiful Sunday evening. And I would request all the audience to like, share, and subscribe our YouTube live video so that we can come up with such engaging uh, events in the near future. And really, I thank you for everyone for joining us, for joining this
Yeah.
session.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Then
Thank you, ma'am.
goodbye.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Take care and all the best.
All the best.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.